A friend of mine said to me the other day, past life regression is dangerous. And you know what I thought? You're goddamn right, it's dangerous. It is one perilous freaking ride. You know, this is why Dolores Cannon trained us to be so responsible and to put the client's safety 1,000% in front of anything else, in front of results, in front of their experience as a, seeing lifetimes or whatever. The most important thing is the client's safety. And it really is, it can be dangerous in the wrong hands. And, I was watching a movie the other night, a documentary about UFO abduction, and I wanted to strangle the hypnotherapist because they allowed the client to, under hypnosis, re-traumatize themselves from all of the things that happened on the ship. They had medical experiments, etc. And they allowed, the poor client was lying there crying and sobbing and whatever. And I was so furious because Dolores would never, ever, ever have allowed us to do that. So, I'm going to talk about two things. One is the client's trauma. I'll start with that because I already went into it. If you have a client who is about to experience any kind of trauma in a session, or if they are in any kind of discomfort, the thing you can do is take them out of the body and have them watch it as a movie. I have done this so many times. I was doing a regression actually on my son, my oldest son, and he was a young Chinese man. And all he wanted to do was play with his animals and live in this, they lived on a junk, one of those little boats. And he wanted to be with his animals. And his father was a famous general and forced him to go train to be in the army. And he didn't want to do that. And he did the training. And the first day he goes out into battle, he is on the battlefield and he sees somebody running towards him with this gigantic sword. And I'm like, quick, get out of the body, like watch it as a movie. And he's watching it and he starts laughing and he says, oh, I'm a terrible soldier, I die right away. And he sees the sword go straight into his belly. And I've also had clients who were, walking up towards the guillotine. And I'm like, yeah, I know what's coming here. So I'll say, you know what, we're just gonna watch this as a movie. And I'll never forget this one young woman. She watched herself get guillotined and she was laughing because she had a wig that had fallen off when the guillotine chopped her head off. And she said, my head's rolling around and there's no wig on it. That's so funny. And I was like, yeah, it's funny. And she said, there's so much blood. So if you can get a client to be able to see it, by the end of most regression sessions, most clients realize that we're all just on a stage in a theater, we're all just wearing costumes and playing roles. And so you really need to bring that to experience, even if it's experience from this very lifetime. You just do not allow people to be re-traumatized. So, is it a dangerous thing to do? Yeah, you're goddamn right it is. I have another thing about how it can be a little scary to be a past life regressionist. Now, I had a client once, a sort of older woman, and right in the middle of a past life, this terrifying voice says, I'm attached to her and you can't get rid of me and I'm not going to leave her and don't you try to kill me and blah, blah, blah. And it was clearly some, people call them attachments. I don't believe in attachments at all. I think that energy can kind of become a part of you when you are feeling low or sad or whatever. I don't really want to do the attachment debate here, but when that voice started talking to me, I could have gotten scared. I had a little moment of chill, but I was like, who the hell do you think you're talking to? I was like, you are not staying in her energy anymore. We are packing you up and sending you off into the central sun. Anyway, I did like some talking to, and we did convince the little energy to go. But there are perilous moments. And, it's not for the faint-hearted. And also, I think you have to be very careful who you go to. Like, you don't really want to go to somebody who isn't experienced or who doesn't. I frankly think you really need to have trained with Dolores. But yeah, just be careful. And yes, it is perilous. And sometimes I generally am a pretty fearless person. I go into things without a lot of worry, but there are times during regressions when I kind of hold my breath for a moment because I don't know what's going to happen next. And I know that this person has put their life in my hands, their entire being in my hands. And I take that very, very seriously. So that's it for today. Hope everybody's doing well. Bye.